Nicole, good morning. See you all here.
Morning, how are you?
Good morning. Good morning, Tanya, as well. So here we are. We wait till about 5 after to round everyone up. But one of the things I invited last week, as we were really looking at chapter 1 in our book, Real Life, we happen to have a few extras. I think Robin has an extra she'd like to sell. We have an extra here, I think.
This one too.
Yeah. So we do have one. So if you don't have a book and would like one, just know that we have some available for you. Just let us know. I think they were about $15. I'm not recollecting.
There's
Is that about right?
There's Audible also read by author.
Okay. Audiobook also, Victor. I did not know that.
Yeah, she reads it herself.
And she reads it herself. I would actually really love that. So thank you for that. I listen at night as I'm settling for rest, and I would actually really like the audio. So I really appreciate that. Thank you. If somebody can't afford the book and would like it also, would you please let me know privately, and we will make sure that you get a copy. So as we looked at chapter 1, let's review for just a moment before we practice. We were looking at really two key concepts. The key concepts were that which constricts us, grips us, invites numbness or shutdown, or even that which invites the flight factors, aggression, judgments, condemnation. And those states that we find ourselves in, right, in this human life, all of us, regardless of circumstance, regardless of the years of practice, right? So that's just a part of our human reality, those moments of constriction, and cannot be avoided, we might say, as well as then moments of expansion. And I've been thinking a lot about this in the last couple of days. I was in Vegas with my brother, a place I do not enjoy, honestly. And I see a lot of suffering. Like, what is it? I see so much suffering there. Everyone grasping, including, ourselves in, right? This gotta get it, gotta have it, gotta keep it, the high of it, the lights, the brightness, the rate, right? Whatever the distraction. I mean, there's, and even the people, right? Just a lot to take in. So not my favorite place. But then the question is, how can you be there in a moment of constriction without falling into judgment, without falling into craving or greed or aversion, right? My natural is like, ugh, I don't even want to be here. I want to get out of here. And it was really fascinating for me to watch. And I got a little wisdom about it, which was to ultimately not be in the constriction required that I greet it completely. And that itself, this very turning towards the aversion, turning towards the craving, not trying to get away from it, not trying to shut it down, not trying to block it out, but really turning towards it was in fact its own state of expansion. You know what I'm saying? Like not getting anywhere else at all. That it was actually being with it exactly as it was in me, by the way, this, and where am I going to go? And what am I going to do? And how do I get out of here? And that I could really, that I expanded the very moment I stopped trying to get somewhere else or be something else. or be in the desert, or be in Paris, or be in Porto, Portugal, or where other great ideas I had about where it would be better to be, in fact, was not true. And the more I was like, get me over there, the more suffering there actually was. And by the way, because of the way I was greeting my own pain, because of the way I was shutting down my own reality. And the reality was, this is hard and painful. This brings up the truth of suffering, the cravings that we all as humans have, and that the shutting down of it would not improve it. Not in me and not in you. It certainly didn't improve it in my brother. And so we have to be careful then, don't we, as we think about this idea of expansion that Sharon talks about in chapter 1, not to mistake it as what I'm hearing a lot about now called non-ordinary states. Oops, non-ordinary states. The psychedelic community is really wrapped around this idea of expansion in the non-ordinary states. And by the way, I firmly believe in the psychedelic assisted path, but I think it also has a lot of thorns. And one of the thorns is you've got to get somewhere else. You've got to be some other way. You've got to get into that non-ordinary state. Not that it can't be a benefit to see its potential and to see our own heart mind's potential, right? It's amazing, isn't it? But really, I think we're a little confused. I think we're going, how do I get that? And once I can get that, that's just like the craving in Vegas. That's just like the craving in our own hearts, isn't it? There's no difference now between that state and the one we're constantly in called, I want my green tea to be cold, not hot. I want my husband to be blah, blah, instead of a number counter for everything. We did that the whole, I noticed like, oh my God, he measures, he counts everything. Like, look at how many of them. And I'm like, oh my God, holy cow. Now, there is no problem inherent in counting, is there? Not one problem. Counting is just counting. No problem in counting. The problem is, oh my God, he just counts. That's not him, though, right? Just like it's not Vegas, and then it's not my brother, and then it's not the psychedelics at all. It's the way we form essential wisdom and relationship to those things, right? There it is. And how many times do we have to remember? Well, over and over again and again. And then we have to greet ourselves in that truth. Don't we? And we have to greet ourselves there. Okay, this is gonna, I see it a little more clearly today than I did on Saturday. Well, this is good. And then can I cultivate, as the essential third component, I think, can I cultivate some kind of kindness and open-heartedness, first towards myself in my craving and in my shutdown, so that I can be most receptive, loving, kind, and understanding through wisdom, right? Right through the doorway of wisdom for others. So does everyone know what I'm saying? Does this make sense? Okay. And so I think this is the book. And then as we look at that reality, then we look at the title of the book again. Right? And then we understand, don't we, even more deeply. This is it. This is the practice for lifetimes, if there's such a thing, and certainly this lifetime. And then we break that all the way down to just now. Can I see clearly now, then, what I was just doing. Get me out of here, get me over there. Why do I have to, right? And see the true path, what's causing my suffering, and then really begin to see with an expanded state of loving kindness, of compassion, of equanimity, and of wisdom. Can I see then, oh, I'm just trying to make it some other way. Can I be with this, really, as the beginning? Can I greet it? And we're going to practice that again today. I asked then a question of last week, and the question was, what do you need? And Greg looked over this a little bit on Saturday. What do you need then to be okay? And I'd like you to write your answer in the chat. What do you need to be okay? When I asked my husband this yesterday, he said, food. Yeah, I suppose, right? On a real level, practical relative level, without air, without warmth, without food, probably not going to be so okay. He happens to have quite a love and craving for his favorite foods. And in fact, speaking to that just for a second, that craving, we ended up walking extra far to a place because he loves fat burgers. And you can't find fat burgers everywhere. So we walk, and I have a sore knee, by the way, so I'm really excited about this. We're walking further to Excalibur from our hotel, and we get there, we find the fat burger, and we order the fat burger. Nothing. The fat burger is, it's a burger, and it's a little dry, and the fat burger in the Excalibur doesn't get frequented all that often. And you could see the disappointment. You could feel the suffering in it, like, right? And so I really got what he meant when he said food then, because he does put a lot on his favorite foods and getting them and enjoying them. And really, that's a big pleasure source for him. This isn't a judgment. It's not a good or bad thing. I get a lot of, I notice my own draw towards time in nature or time in practice, time in movement, right? And that I love those things and always want them and try to figure out how to get them. The garden, right? I have about 19 pounds of fertilizers up on my deck. How do I keep that? As well as just enjoy it. So what do you need? Where do you tend to put your focus? What do you need to be okay? And then there's a couple levels of answer, right? There's the answer of, well, right now I just need to be warm enough. We call that relative. It's all true. I need air to be okay, maybe. But let's see what people say. And then there's another level. Let's see where we picked it up. Here's the chat. Thank you all for keeping my heart open with compassion for myself and others, right? No matter the circumstance, how do we work with that? What I needed is not only food and good, lost you there, Dennis, sorry. Water, but having satisfied, heartful breathing, to be able to be alive, to breathe. To breathe with a certain openness as well. Acceptance. It certainly helps, Victor, doesn't it? It means we're greeting the moment in some way. Robin likes the acceptance idea. Food, time in nature. Yeah. Time alone. Yep. Exercise, live music, other activities that give me a sense of awe, that put me in the moment and help me lose grasp of my racing thoughts. Yeah, shift our attention and our perspective, maybe make the perspective larger. Self-care, more time in nature. Yeah, this is what came up for me. This is Denise. Experiences and conditions that calm my sense system and provide comfort. This includes quality sleep, nurturing relationships, a sense of agency and justice, cultural, intellectual experiences, growth, and time in nature to gain perspective. Connection with others, says Allison. I think the question for me is, what do I think I need? So I think I need a better body. Yes. Denise, yes, well said. Yes, I agree. All the above. Yeah. So what we think we need, let's play our game now. So what happens when you don't get it? What happens when time in nature, time in awe, time in connection, time in acceptance is not present? How are you okay? Now, write it in the box. Now what? It's not there. You're not in acceptance. Someone's, prejudice against Eastern Europeans. Victor, what do you do? What are you doing now?
No,
There's
I actually meant acceptance, that I accept.
Yeah, that you
What
accept it, even when it's like that.
Yeah, well,
And what do you do when it's not?
worry.
I'm not in acceptance. I'm in criticism, judgment. I don't like it. I don't like your prejudice. I don't like what you said. I think it was hateful and rude. Now what do you do?
Worry and constricted state.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
So what can we do in that constricted state? Because everyone would say that, right? When I don't have my stuff, whatever my stuff is, and we'll call that your addictive device. How about it? Let's call all that stuff you think you need your addictive device. Nature, gotta get it. Gotta have it. Let's say it's not there. Now what? So when your addictive device for comfort, safety, ease is not available, connection to you any longer, where do we go? Besides to hell and back. You don't even have to write that. Yeah, when I don't get that, yep, somebody's saying I get constricted in the sense that I am a prisoner of my thoughts. I cannot let go. So we might get that contracted, constricted feeling comes back. Our thoughts become often our reality. We lose perspective, don't we? We lose the ability, the expanded ability to just recognize thoughts as thoughts and recognize distress as distress. Yeah, here I am in this moment of distress. I fought with that for 3 days. Going, okay, I can do that. Maybe I can do that. Maybe I can get to Red Rock Canyon. Maybe I can get outside. Maybe I can sit at the pool. Maybe there's got to be somewhere I can go. What happens when there's nowhere else to go?
I try to tap into the body.
Try to come back into the body. What do you notice when you get there?
Palpating heart, constriction, up throat,
Squeeze,
squeeze,
right?
and
Yeah.
Let's just try to, yep.
Yeah. What do we do?
Exactly.
Now we come into the body like Nicole went into her thoughts. What she noticed there is a shit show, right? Things going all over the place. What do? You go into the mind, blah, blah, blah. You go into the body, and now you come into the heart. And what?
Breathe.
Maybe all you can do. Isn't it true? And this is why we practice, because maybe all I've got left is to create enough space for being with it. And that I am not lost even then. That in this very moment where I go, now rather than trying to get out of Vegas, rather than trying to get my brother to be a not gambler, rather than try to get my husband to be a not counter, maybe what I could do is just create a little space and find the breath and breathe. By the way, it's not a pleasant breath. It isn't like the universe magically opened that moment. Forget it. It's not true. It's tight, hot, hard, and contracted in there. But the training is there something bigger in me that can hold it? Now, Victor said acceptance. Greg said openness. Is there a way to breathe that, even when the breath is squeezing you out? And the answer is yes. And it's not only possible for me, it's possible for you. Isn't it? Yes, it is. Now, 10,000 million billion times, we'll have to then turn to that window, go, ugh, there I was with that not liking or wanting something. And can I be with that too? That's the expansion that we're talking about. It doesn't feel good as in our training, does it? See, this is what we're all looking for. You all want me to tell you the same thing I wanted my teacher to tell me, how to get out of that. Don't you? Yes, you do. Me too. How do we get out of this? Here's the trick. We're not getting out of it. We're not getting out of it. We're going to turn slowly, maybe just 3 breaths today, towards it with some kind of attitude then, right? A quality of being that says, let me open just for this breath to that tight spot, to that contracted, to that can't breathe, to that thinking I'm going to die, to those racing thoughts, to that get me out of here, get me somewhere else. Because without that capacity for expanding in the face of our distress, that's tricky business, isn't it? Right in the face of the distress, and we practice little tiny moments, right? Just in sitting meditation. That's why it's essential, because it's a training, right? And we cannot do it otherwise. I have not found it. I promise I'll tell you when I find a green tea that makes it all better. When I find a husband who doesn't count everything. When my brother wants to go to Italy instead of Vegas, right? And now we're truly imprisoned, aren't we? By our just gotta get it, and then I can be okay. Now, our habit is to condemn that, isn't it? To go, well, just change that. It's not quite that simple. We have to greet it. We're never going to just get rid of it. And this is why we spend so much time, don't we, in criticism. Yeah, if not this, if not, if only, if not. Tanya, resentment, tired, grumpy, depressed. That's right. It is what it is. That's a dangerous phrase, because actually we don't mean that. We don't actually mean that it is what it is. Not at all. We actually mean I want it my way. But we don't mean it is what it is. Actually, often when we're saying it, we're in indifference, or we're in resignation, or we're shrugging it up like, no. How do we make that better? How do we make it open? How do we cultivate that quality? This is hard work. How do we take the very meh of it all? It is true also, right? Whatever's happening is happening. There is no doubt about it. How do we greet it? I think that's tricky. Choked up, angry, wanting to get out of here. Yeah, for sure. Inquire about those constrictions. Yeah. Why do he, she think or say? Yeah. We're trying to figure it out. Yeah. Read another book. That book, right? I don't know how many books I've got on my shelf. I got a billion. Now, like this one's going to explain to me now how to do. It's the same thing. It's over and over. It makes me well up with emotion, both the recognition that I can breathe into it and the recognition how many times I spend in self-criticism. Yeah, trying to do something else, or then blaming others. Exactly right. All right, thank you. So I wanted to do that because if we don't understand why we're sitting here, really, it gets very boring very quickly, doesn't it? Like, really? We can't do something else? Isn't there music she could play in the background? Honestly, do you know how many times I've heard that? Couldn't she beat a drum? Isn't there something? No. Why? It's just another grab, isn't it? It's just another, give me that so that I don't have to be with this. But we're warriors, says Pema. Peaceful, loving, open, accepting, capable warriors. And so we're going to practice together. And then we'll look at chapter 2. So let's prepare to sit. Now you know why you're doing it. Now you know why. Your feet are cold, your back, I think I got a kink back there now. You're just being with all that is present in this moment. Good to see you. Whatever it is, take some moments just to begin to orient into the larger frame. So this is actually what's happening. We're actually always going out like this in our perspective taking. And now we're just going to rotate a little to make that space bigger. And now we're including beautifully ourselves. And just to begin to orient to the inner landscape, the inner experience, we begin to turn towards this body, however it is right now. Parts you will like and parts you won't. And it's all fine. So let's see if we can't just drop the attention along with the breath down into the area of the feet. And this is the beginning of our architecting our expanded reality. We're just being with the feet exactly as they are. Parts we like and parts we don't. Coolness or warmth, soft or hard, inner and outer. The refuge of the feet. The refuge of the heart mind open to the feet as they are. And then shifting from the feet to the seat. Dropping the breath, letting the whole of the upper body settle. Contact, pressure, weightedness, lightness, movement. Maybe inner experience, outer experience. And then coming into the area of the hands. And greeting the hands exactly as they are. Tight or loose, warm or cool. Pressure, tingling, numbness. That vibrational aliveness that may or may not be there. Feeling the inner dignity that our wakefulness invites. We feel that in the spine, in our uprightness, in our wakefulness, in our acknowledging of the preciousness of this gifted human life. And then we come up the spine with the in-breath, inviting that elevation, that alignment, that flexibility. And as we come down the front of the body, seeing if we can't, with each out breath, just release, relax, and soften. Letting go of the armor that keeps us some distance from our real life. In this present moment. And ourselves in it. And let's come right into the heart space for this practice. And rest that gentle, accepting, open attention there. What do you think you need to be okay right now? And then let's see if we can't recognize those thoughts. And for now, we're just going to let them fall to the background. We're going to rest in the direct experience of the breath in the heart space. Feeling what we feel. And we're going to continue to move closer into the heart space as we breathe. You will notice points of tightness, contractedness, points of lightness, openness, ease. And can we invite that curiosity along with that kindness? We're not going to reject or condemn, judge or criticize any experience at all, including the experience of no experience or numbness. That's just a certain kind of protection, just like that tight spine. Whatever the sensation, whatever the content, see if you can offer it one full, spacious breath. And by that, I mean that breath with openness, receptivity, welcoming, acceptance. The the breath of acknowledgement. Sensations may intensify, they may neutralize, they may get pleasant or unpleasant. And really, the practice is simply to be with, to breathe with, and to open. May I be happy and free from distress. And that distress doesn't have much to do with the sensation, whether it is pleasant or unpleasant. It has to do with that quality of mind and heart and commitment that we bring again and again. As we're breathing into the physical sense, I would like you to see now if you can just create space and room using the very sensation as we have used the word portal or a conduit into that expanded state, born of being with. Hot or cool, hard or soft, pleasant or unpleasant. We greet them all. remembering that it is not the sensation itself that determines constriction or expansion. That's just the body happening, like the feet and the seat or the hands. But can we bring an essential openness and warmth, that receptivity, that willingness to let be? And then you notice the thoughts. Oh, I think I'm getting this, or I don't like this. I want to go off into other kinds of thinking, or just the distraction that naturally arises and pulls us back into a probable addictive device of thinking about something else or to-do list or something pleasant. And can we be open as well here? Can I open to the truth of thinking? And rather than buy into this is me, it's just the habits I have, it's never going to be different, I can't get rid of thinking, none of this is a problem. Just then noticing that thinking, all designed as essential protection. And without condemning now the thinking, or the one who is the thinker, or the one who wants the escape or the relief. And we simply feel for ourselves. And come right back to the breath in the heart space, and breathe the breath of kindness, with open-heartedness, of wakefulness, of presence. Opening to ourselves, just like this. For all the moments where I couldn't be with myself, can I simply invite and allow right now? Rather than decide that who we are, that we're failed, that there's no possibilities, it's simply not true, it's just a part of the story. We mistake our thinking for who we really are. And I simply come into this body, this breath, and this heart. For just this one breath. You may notice sensations in the belly, the diaphragm, or the throat. Maybe another part of the body is also activated in some way or completely numb. And we might notice that as we're doing this heart breath as well. We can include that as well. Can I open and include the coolness of my feet? And then we can open the heart space larger, beyond any physical sense at all, to include the whole of the body being held in this loving awareness. And once again, inviting that quality of openness, of warmth, and the spaciousness that includes whatever is arising in this whole body. Breath by breath, we're cultivating qualities of equanimity, of ease, of well-being, however the body is. And then however the mind is, however the thoughts are, there is space and room within awareness. It is large enough, vast enough, open enough to include it all. We can check in beyond the body then into the qualities of thoughts. Maybe noticing less thoughts or less disruption. Maybe we're noticing restlessness of mind, distraction. Can we breathe space and room there? We're not trying to get rid of them. And be happy, free from distress as it relates to thoughts. room within loving awareness to hold the body, to hold thoughts, and to hold particular emotion states. We can simply open back into the heart space beyond the physical to hold whatever is arising in the way of emotion. And there may be a felt sense, there may be a name for the emotion, there may not. It's really not as important as resting in love and awareness with the experience within the heart space as it is. And we be with it is as it is, with loving awareness, with open-heartedness, with the soft body, with this curious, flexible, and stable mind. And then we can invite the inquiry, what do I need to be okay? Wisdom to know what is happening as it is happening as best we can. And the loving and compassionate heart, sufficient to respond. And then letting go of any one object, just resting in loving awareness. May we remember that there are beings just like me who feel this, who think this, who sense this, being part of the human experience. May we feel for us all. May we all be happy and free from distress. May this practice this day contribute. And may it continue until all beings, beginning with ourselves, are happy and free. Feeling into the whole body, seeing if we can bring that same quality, that wakeful, open, to whatever is arising now. Tight neck, a little stiff, whatever's there, open, spacious, quality of movement. And then what do you need to be okay? And the answer is nothing and everything. Right? Whatever it is. Are there qualities? We're naming some of them. And what happens when we're not even in those qualities? Can we be open then too? And the answer is, of course we can. We can see our not openness, our not accepting, and in that very moment of greeting, are beginning to invite that larger capacity to be with, to hold, ultimately to love. You know, even our not loving selves, can we love even that? And the answer is yes, we can. I'm going to check in before we go to chapter 2. Make sure I've got a couple things here. Siobhan, I moved to the couch. Sure. No problem. Thank you. Oh, there you are. Hello. Good that you let us know. I appreciate that. Just so we know you're okay. That's always good news. Watch out for the thorns. Yeah, you know, that's interesting. I'm not sure there are thorns. I think that's just us. Actually, I think we're the thorns. I think we run into things we don't like and things we don't want. It's true. And then there are the realities of things, right? Some things are just painful. The body changes, it weakens, it gets sick, it dies. These are realities. But I don't even know if those are the thorns. Exactly, are they? Yeah, I think it's just maybe the way we're not wanting them and not opening to them and not greeting them. And I know from hospice work at the minimum, and then being with my brother and my dad, that all these moments of thinking that should be some other way didn't help either. Didn't help. It didn't make me more available. It didn't make me more present. It didn't make me more loving in any way. Going, this shouldn't be happening, or it should be happening a different way, or they should be being a different, or I should be being a different way, was not particularly useful. In fact, very consistently shuts us down, I think. And so then, as the teachings frequently say, there is no problem in life. Then the problem is our resistance and refusal to greet it. Right? Which is how Greg got to that idea of open-heartedness. Right? There is only our own preference, bias, and wanting something else. let's go to the chapter so we can get a nice look at chapter 2. I wanted to read a little, oh, I don't have that on. I apologize. You won't be able to see that yet. Let's try that again. Just close it down, so we open it back. Here is the chapter. Create a little space over here. Chapter 2, and remember that Sharon's interest here is not she's not saying anything we don't know, is she? She's not saying anything earth-shattering, or she's saying exactly the same thing. She's just saying it with her language and through her lens and her experience with the concepts of the journey. This real life is a journey. And she says that at the beginning, and we'll say that here in chapter 2. I wanted to read this, though. We didn't look at it as much last week as I wanted, so I only want to point to it. And here in the yellow, we acquire something to distract ourselves with in an attempt to avoid the pain in order to feel powerful or retreat into numbness. We can even use our practice that way, can't we? Some adaptations can be quite intelligent, and some herald survival. However, when these adaptations become our sole response, or our patterned response, we could maybe say, resorted to again and again, they outlive their usefulness. They become habits, don't they? Or constrictions, really. They become narrow straits, holding us in the confined place of who we think we are. Pain is important. How we evade it, how we succumb to it and deal with it, how we transcend it, ultimately, is the path. And then I'm going to go off. I just wanted you to see that. We talked about qualities of grasping and how those feel, and then qualities of our addictive devices and how we use them, including our practice. And I'm going to move our next chapter. Oop, I might have been going the wrong way. I apologize. Let me try that other way. Doing a lot of clicking. I apologize. I was in the wrong spot. Here we go. When do we feel the smallest? I love that question. When do we feel disconnected, separate? When do we feel trapped by our own believed thoughts about who we are? Aren't those some of the definitions of smallness? Disconnected, separate, falling into believed thoughts about who we think we really are. These are all versions, right, of that tight, small box that we can too often put ourselves in. And Sharon looks at that here. So let's look at it together. It's often hard to be a human being and to figure out how to do it well. I thought that was a spectacular first sentence. Isn't it true? How to be truly human means greeting ourselves with exactly the humanness that's arising, not the one we prefer, not the one we thought we should have, not the version we have in our mind's eye, not the one we dreamt of last night, the one that's really right here. We don't know how to do it very well. However, we are capable. There is a training, there is a way, and we're going to discover that. And that's the beginning of beginning to be our true selves, to be our true selves. By what? Greeting what is arising. And again, it's very simple in its ideas, and it's very challenging in the practice, which is why we practice together as often as we can, and best if we can do so every day. Why? I didn't practice a lot for 4 days. My mind went to hell. I got it back, off it went. I got it back, off it went. I really just needed to go find a quiet space, which I finally did, and be with myself exactly as I was. in some of the pain I was feeling and sadness that I was having, and the wish that it be some other way. This is where the mind will go. All of these might be great, these successes, accumulations, delights, sense pleasures. It's not that they are the problem in any way. We can misunderstand that, can't we? It's not true. Chocolate cake can be as delicious as it is. It's the mind that thinks you have to have it in order to be okay that is the problem, not the cake. We do this regularly, don't we? We go, oh, but that. Well, there's no that. That's the problem. It is always what's happening here that's either in the craving or, in my case, over the weekend, the rejection of what was actually happening. And I wasn't in rejection of Vegas, by the way. I was in rejection of the pain I was feeling about it. Then Vegas is just Vegas, doing all its Vegas-y things, right? Not a problem. I had a inquiry here. What do you need then to be truly happy if the problem isn't anything around you? Where do we and how do we find belonging, wholeness, connection, and peace if there is no problem beyond? Right? There's no problem in Vegas. Not really. It's not necessarily the yearning itself, even the wanting something else that is problematic. Rather, we struggle and feel lost and discontented because we don't know exactly where our greatest happiness can be found. We're all looking somewhere else, aren't we? Somewhere else, somewhere not Vegas, I think we could say. Somewhere not with this sore knee, somewhere not with this pained mind going, I can't get here anymore. I may never see my brother again. Right? The pain of those feared thoughts. Can I just acknowledge the pain and the fear there? And this is the beginning of the path to its end, right there. Not getting my brother not to go to Vegas, not even there. And then I wrote another note. Where have you mistakenly looked for happiness? That's just an inquiry. Where have you looked for it? And I already know what you found. Because that's what we all find, right? We already know the answer to this. There's no other place to go. Not even in 5-day retreats, 30-day retreats, 500-year retreats. Not even. There is no happiness to be found that way, not there. There are times, I think I skipped ahead. Let me go back here because I think I lost some. Where is our greatest happiness? It's one of our inquiries this week. And happiness is possible. I think that's also important because I think that we can all fall in, can't we, to the life's just shit. It's just blah, blah, right? There's only suffering. This is a mistaken understanding of the teaching, right? That life is only suffering. It's not true. That's not what was said. It did say there is suffering in this life. There are reasons and causes. And once you understand them, you will be on the path to the end of suffering. It did not say there was only suffering. So be watchful of that habit. This is just is. It is what it is, called life just sucks. Not true. There are times when we feel with sudden conviction that we could become a lot happier than we've been, more at peace, less afraid. This can also be a moment of insight, by the way. This is not just the craving. There can be, wait a minute, I don't have to do it like this. It occurred to me in Vegas. I don't have to just be wishing that we weren't here or somewhere else, or that the person wasn't who they were, or wait a minute, I could just be with this and then see in through the connection with myself and my own experience, figure out how I could best be available and to connect with others. Right? The journey we make is propelled throughout by the shifts in our worldview. Oh, I kind of woke up. Our sense of who we are, what's important, how alone we are, where strength is found, where happiness is found, will take on a different perspective through that expanded lens. Now, remember, we're using the word expanded not to mean not contracted. Whoops. Uh-oh, we've got to change that thinking. It doesn't mean not contracted. What does it mean? Being with my experience. That's the expanded state that we are talking about. That shift is an acknowledgement of possibility that allows us to engage without a promise of definite immediate reward. We do not like this. We do not like this. I will do it only if it gets me what I want. Well, on the path to true liberation, we learn how to be with everything, including all the things we didn't want. This is actually the path, not to get away from it, not to get around it, not to not feel it. These are all our addict wishes, that it will be the solution. This is the dynamism, the infinite possibility that reminds us to imagine what might yet be, rather than allowing despair, discouragement, or sullen withdrawal to lay waste to any sense of possibility. I also believe that despair, discouragement, and sullen withdrawal can be absolute food for the seeing. I think that very can be exactly the path, not that we're, again, keeping this mistaken idea of expanded in mind. Doesn't mean we like it, doesn't mean it's pleasant. It is, however, growing something in us, which is these qualities of equanimity, wisdom, and kindness, essential love for it all. Only when we have the courage to step into the darkness, said John O'Donohue, does the light begin to reveal itself. We know this at heart, don't we? And we hate the dark. And we know it. We do know. Oh, when I just finally was in acceptance, when I finally just said, okay, I'm here now, this is how do I be with? Then we begin to see differently. The perspective is now larger, and the possibility for holding it, at least, is there, as well as the path to how can I be with this? How can I assist others? Then being with this becomes much larger. Solutions is a dangerous word, so I don't use it because I'm not sure there's a problem. I think we have to be careful, don't we? It's not that solutions are found. There's ways of being that are discovered that ultimately are antidotes or aids or can support us in being with the difficulty. What would stepping into the darkness be for you? Where would be the place you would have to go that you currently do not want to go? What would that be? Where would that be? John O'Donohue says it's by turning towards the darkness. That is an interesting way. I call it suffering, right? He's calling it darkness, not evil, not right, and not actually only who we are. So that's another part of our dilemma, is that we perceive a moment of darkness as the whole of our experience or the whole of our being, right? It is not true. There is that which knows and holds and regards that is not lost in the dark. What is it? Where would you have to turn? What is it you're needing to look at? For me at Vegas, it was my own aversion to being there. And then seeing it infinite ways. That was helpful. I had to see it. We can repeatedly stumble, afraid to move forward into the unknown, into uncertainty. This is often where we don't want to go. We often don't want to go where we're going to feel groundless. where we're going to be without solution, where we're not going to have the path. And that's almost always exactly where we're supposed to be. Isn't it? Life provides this for us beautifully, but we don't like that place, right? The unknown, the uncertain, the ungrounded. Where is that for you? Where is that? What are you avoiding by seeking, right, comfort and certainty? They're the same. We can do it for one step and then another if our view of what's fixed and what is malleable can keep adjusting, because every moment then changes the view. Every moment changes the perspective and who we are in relationship to it. Or perhaps we simply feel tired of being confined, right? We simply can't stand that narrow place, that narrow definition, I think, of who we think we are. And I think it's that. I don't think there's any narrowness outside of us. I think it's the quality of our own definitions of who we think we are. I'm only this, this is just like this, life's just like this, that's all it is. That's why that it is what it is can be dangerous. We have solidified a view right there, haven't we? Rather than be curious, interested, wait a minute, what's really going on? That I keep fantasizing being somewhere else. In the Buddhist psychology, of course, we know there are three primary hindrances named. We've talked about them a lot. That which is craving, wanting something, that which is rejecting, that's where I was again. And the I'm just checked out, I don't know anything, which I can also do. I'm getting more intimate with that. I just go into like, yeah, I don't know. I'm not looking, I'm not asking, I'm not inquiring, I'm not being present to anything. I'm just like, okay, well, let's just shut this party down. And those will guarantee A, suffering, and B, that you don't get to see the reality of whatever the experience is right now. I had to see my pain in order to be able to make contact with it so that I could attend to it. And if you don't do that, then you're going to stay in that shut down, pained, delusional place. And that's all that was being said here. It will hinder our ability to live fully, to spend the day in appreciation, gratitude, joy, or peace. And I liked this line, I put it in blue. We see ourselves only as we imagine others see us, because we have projected that image onto those others. When we are hateful of ourselves, we tend to perceive others as judging. When we are in gratitude of ourselves, appreciation for our life, we tend to see others as maybe, if not in gratitude also, we see that they didn't even have the good we have. We may even notice the suffering from that place of gratitude. Like, wow, these people don't have a beautiful place to live like I do. They don't have a home and a beach and that quality of appreciation that comes. When we're entangled in one or more of these three states, Sharon says, not simply when we feel them. This is a nice distinction. It isn't that we feel the feeling, it's that we're lost in it as a fixed, permanent self, this is me, or that is you, state. We feel it more intensely. In fact, that cannot be overcome. I don't think. I think we're lost. We're just lost in the contractedness of that moment, and the truth of suffering is very apparently there. The natural consequence is a state of fixation, of tunnel vision, of overlooking many real chances for ease or happiness while being beguiled by beliefs or behaviors that don't deliver much except for suffering. The question I had here is, what mistaken or falsely believed thoughts have you become defined by? How have you perceived yourself in a way that's like, this is just me, or it's just broken, or there is no possibility, which is actually never true. And it does not mean that it will manifest in the way you had picked. or liked or preferred. And then we go, see, it didn't work. Well, that's not true. It's changing every moment. What might be true is my husband is still a counter. And he might stay a counter forever. And I don't mean that in the fixed state. It just might be a pattern. Now, what can I do with that? Well, the answer is everything or nothing. Can't I? So then he wouldn't be the same counter, would he? No, he wouldn't. Even if there were similarities in the behavior, the way I could come to understand it or see its benefit or see its gifts, by which there are many. By the way, I could see that, which would change my perspective. The wrong places and the wrong ways, she gave an example. We can feel when we discover that perfect happiness isn't, this disheartened state. A feeling of betrayal or fear, she says here. When we feel, and I think this takes a lot of us out of practice, doesn't it? Because we go, wait a minute, I didn't get the juice that I was looking for. Well, you actually were. You weren't getting it the way you wanted it, was also true. Because remember, you lift a weight, it's going to grow muscle, and there is no other way. Well, this is the same for these trainings, by the way. They are going to ultimately alter your quality of mind, your quality of being. There's no doubt about it. And often middle path is I'm going to see all the ways I couldn't do it, all the ways I didn't pull it off, all the ways they didn't pull it off. It's true. And then it's easy, isn't it? In that belief thought that this is the way out, we're going to go through before we are out. And a lot of us, including myself, fail and fall there. I've quit at least a couple of times going, this is just ridiculous because there's just suffering here. It's not true. And the truth is, yes, we also have to grieve the suffering. It is in part because we need to face down the myths and distortions taught to us that we call it a journey. It is not linear. It is not a straight path. It is not just a climb out at all. It is woven through every moment, every breath. And the truth is, sometimes we get tired, right? The truth is, we do. We go, wait, and that's almost always because we were wanting something else. I didn't want to stay here noticing my aversion. I wanted just to have a nice time on a 4-day weekend. Did not want to be looking at aversion, was not particularly interested in that. And yet, what an opportunity. What an opportunity. I feel very grateful, truthfully, for the seeing of that. It's as though when we're lost within any of these three states, we offer our hearts to the wrong things or in the wrong ways. Wrong's a dangerous word, right? But in a pained way, we could say, couldn't we? We give it again to the mind that's going to just take it and go, see, this is why it's like this, or this is why I don't connect with others, or this is why I don't travel to Nevada, or this is why counters are stupid, or it verifies in a lost state. I said that about 5,000 times, Siobhan, during the week. Oh my God, he's counting it again. He's measuring it again. He's reporting it all again, more. And then he does it when I'm playing cards. He reports the cards and where they belong, and right? He is not the problem. Don't hear that. He is not the problem. My husband is a wizard with that counting as well. That's true. I forgot all of that while he was counting the number of somethings as we were driving home. Right? Okay. What is that? Some quality in my narrow heart mind. What is it? What have you offered your heart to instead of cherishing the gifts of the present moment and its uniqueness and living boldly and wholeheartedly? Where have you directed your preferences, your bias, and the belief thoughts that come with it? It should be some other way, because we will get lost in suffering, always there. In craving and grasping, we place our hearts on an object or an experience in the fervent belief that this will satisfy us. This is going to do it. This is going to make me happy. If I get that new patio set, if I get the new garden, if I get the new something in, is that going to make me? And we buy in, don't we? That will make me happy. And we know because we've done it 10,000 times that this is also not. Doesn't mean that an action or purchase or is right or wrong, but be careful about what we think it will get us. In aversion, we tend to reject, we refuse, we deny, we separate ourselves from what is happening. That's what I did in Vegas, to somehow declare it wrong, bad, untrue. Not me is the minimum. Not me. We place our faith on the ability to have control over things by rejecting them. Actually, we keep unpleasant experiences at bay by cutting them off with prejudice, bias, and opinion. In delusion, we're just checked out, as we know. These adaptions might be necessary, she says, in a particular moment, but when they become our sole responses, when we only repeat again and again, they actually get narrow, constricted, and actually will fail. Right? They're not going to serve us well. I think I asked a question here. Can you find any believed thoughts? Can you name a strategy that has not served you well, that continues to this day and that you continue to cling to? Can you notice a thing? I'm going to try it one more time. One more time. I think we're going to have to stop there. We'll put the marker here and come back to that for next week. This week, this chapter is really about opening, changing our definition, I think, of expansion, not to include some felt sense. It's a mistake, isn't it? But to include that open, receptive, allowing self that says, can I be with this? And not to be looking for some other place or state first, right? That we have to fully inhabit is a word we frequently use, the present moment, to see the way to the next with loving kindness, wisdom, and compassion. And that your distress, your discomfort, your narrow responses can all be seen, and by virtue of being seen, are now in an expanded state by the very seeing of them. You didn't do anything yet, but you recognized. And then with recognition, we can choose what? To be with, to allow, to invite, to inquire. And that is our work. So the practice this week, can I stay in this heart space, just breathing in, naming or owning whatever is arising there? Can I breathe with myself into my own heart space rather than immediately vault off into one of those three devices, getting something else, right? Can I just have cold feet for a breath or two to see what the truth is? By the way, my feet are now not cold. Doesn't mean I don't deserve socks either. That's not the point. But until we fully arrive to see the ever-changing reality and then noticing something about ourselves in relation, we will not be skillful. We will not be loving. And we'll spend our time flitting here and there, putting out all these invisible fires. We have to be watchful. Can we just see how we really are, particularly, I think, in our contracted state? Easier to drop in, isn't it? Into the pleasant. Can we stay with ourselves this week in the contracted state, immediately cultivating expanded state? Whatever you do from there, as we say often, will be kinder, will be more. And I believe it's useful to do nothing but breathe. or at least a few. All right, everyone, blessings to all of you. Thank you for hanging on for a few more moments. We're going to drop into that heart space several times. Now, particularly when you get a little of the ouch. Greg, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to alert everybody to the fact that we're going to be doing another St. Andrew's donation. That's going to be on May the 9th. I think that's a Tuesday. So you need to drop off your donations over there to Carrie's house. And it's the same thing that we've been doing all along. I think you all know what it is. Go for
Yeah.
it.
Food items or
Food
money. We
yeah.
can send money to EMC Giving. You can send it to me. I go shopping the Sunday before. You can Venmo me that as well. And if you can't do any of that, you can drop off some pasta, some beans, some canned goods. They're probably sitting in your pantry right now and you're going, what's that still doing there? Drop that off at Carrie's. And if you need the address, let one of us know. I was supposed to put that in the newsletter and in my own aversion and contraction. That did not occur, Greg. I apologize for that. Hopefully we can generate in the next few days, since people don't usually get to this. But start with your own pantry. Get in there. And then we're going to be meeting this Saturday here in the garden. You can always bring it here as well. And so that would be one way you could all contribute. So thanks, Greg, for that. I appreciate our service projects, and they are very important because we're opening there too. Often in ways that we forget about until we get invited to do this. Again, there are many who have much less than we ourselves are blessed to have. So please make a contribution. All right, everyone, I will write some of this up for you so that we can remember the practice, the inquiry. What is it I think I need, especially right now, is useful, because that contracted state is coming out of some believed thought that it's something else, isn't it? That's for sure. It's not Vegas, baby. And in fact, what's the truth? Of course it is. It is that as well. I'm going to work on that this week. You too. Stay with your own hearts. That will be good practice. See how you really. All right, everyone, be well. Blessings to all. Thank you for your time here in practice. I'll send the recording out to everyone as well. All right, everyone, take good care. I'll look forward to seeing you soon.